Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Akram and watching Knowledge 360. In the previous video we discussed about text search data type, and in this video we are going to discuss about UUID data types in PostgreSQL. UUID stands for Universally Unique Identifier. UUID is extremely useful in distributed systems where uniqueness must be guaranteed. So PostgreSQL has native support for UUID. The standard UUID format example is like this, where we distribute the 32 hex digits like this into 8 digit 444 and then 12 digits, but the alternative accepted formats can be like this. All can be in uppercase, or we can provide them within the parenthesis or bracket, and we can provide them without any hyphen, or we can even distribute them into each 4 digits of a category, and also we can break them into even 8 digits category, but the output is always normalized to lowercase standard format. Before working on the UUID, we need to enable the UUID extension. So if the extension is not already created, I can show you here. So here we can see that we don't have the UUID extension. So first we need to create the extension. So for that we can follow this statement, create extension. If not exist, then UUID-ossp extension. So let's create this extension is created now, and now we can create table using the UUID column. So here we can see that we are creating one table called users, where ID is UUID data type, and we have defined it as primary default UUID generate v4. So what is v4? v4 generates a random UUID version 4. Other generation of function is also there, UUID generate v1 and then v1 mc etc. So version 4 is most commonly used for random UUIDs. So let's create this table. So the table is created now. Now let's insert some data into the table that we have created, and here UUID will be auto generated. So in this case we are creating two records into the users table, and we are not providing the primary key or the ID value, so it will be automatically created. So let's insert the data. So the data are inserted and we can see the data. So here we can see that we have provided this data, but the UUID is automatically created, and this is in the standard format that we had discussed, that 8 digits 444 and then 12 digits. Now let's see how we can insert data with custom UUID, that is manually assigned UUID. We can provide the manual UUID unless it is accurate and it is unique and it is in the acceptable formats. So in this case we are following that one of the acceptable formats, where we are providing the data in 8 digits 444 and then 12 digits. So we are providing this data, and let's see insert the data for Charlie. So the data is inserted and we can verify the same. So here we can see that we have created this UUID along with this data. Now let's see UUID column with unique constraints in another table. So in this case we are creating one table called orders, and order ID is the primary key, and we have provided it as UUID, and generation will be version 4, and the user ID we are taking from the users table as foreign key here, and one is order date, that is the timestamp, default current timestamp. So let's create this table first. So the table is created, and also we can insert the data into the orders table. So for orders table we can insert the user ID, because user ID is not default. Order ID will be automatically generated as primary key, and order date is also current timestamp. So let's insert this data and see the data for arise. So here we can see that one record is inserted into the table orders, and now we can see the data here. So here we can see that we have inserted the same record for this user two times. Here we can see that UUID is same for both the records, but the order ID UUID, which is the unique identifier, this is different, and also we can see that timestamp is different. So this is how we can use the UUID column for uniqueness, and also it can be referenced as foreign keys. Now let's discuss some additional tips where we generate UUID in query without storing them. So that is also possible. As of now we used to generate them and store in the table, but it is also possible that we just generate and we don't store. So this can be helpful in the programming like PL, PGSQL and other programmings. So let's see. If we execute this multiple times, we should get different records, different data, UUID every time, because this is randomly generated. So here we can see that this is the value that is generated for UUID, and if I execute it again, I should get different record. Yes, and the multiple times I create it, and I can see that each time UUID is created differently. Also, let's see an additional example where UUID as default value in composite table. So, for example, here in this case, in the sessions table, we are taking session ID as UUID default. User ID is UUID references for users, that is the foreign key, and the login time is the timestamp. So, let's create this table. So, the table is created. Now we are inserting one user ID data for Bob into this table. So, let's insert this data. So, the data is inserted into the table, and we can verify that as well. Here we can see that for Bob user, this is the user ID and the session ID is generated this, and this is the login time. So this is how also we can create and store the UUIDs. Now let's discuss some additional things that you should know regarding UUID. So the first point is UUID versus serial key. UUIDs are globally unique and more secure. This is hard to guess, and they are longer, that is 16 bytes, and can increase index size and lookup time. Serial is simpler and smaller, that is 4 bytes, but this is not globally unique, only unique within a single table. So the conclusion is UUIDs ensure global uniqueness, ideal for distributed systems. PostgreSQL's UUID OSSP extension supports multiple generation algorithm, can be used as primary key or it can be used as referencing foreign key as well. Output format is always standard regardless of input format. UUID generate v4 is the most commonly used method. Know the trade-offs between UUID and serial for your use case. So this was all about UUIDs in PostgreSQL database. If the video was helpful, do like the video and subscribe the channel to get the notifications for upcoming videos. In the next video, we'll discuss about XML data types in PostgreSQL. So let's meet in the next video. Till then, take care. Bye bye.